Today, we begin with the opening words of the time's Tao Te Ching, words that have puzzled and guided seekers for more than 2,000 years. Listen with your whole being. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. With a name, it becomes the mother of all things. Therefore, when one is free from grasping, one sees the mystery. When one is caught in desire, one sees only its outward forms. Let these ancient words settle into the silence of your heart. Do not rush to understand them. Let them rest within you like seeds in fertile soil. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. What is Lao Tzu telling us? He is pointing towards something beyond words, beyond concepts, beyond every attempt to place reality inside the small boxes of language. Think of one of the most meaningful moments of your life. Perhaps it was holding your child for the first time. Perhaps it was sitting beside someone you loved when no words were needed. Perhaps it was watching the sunrise after a difficult period. In that moment, were you analyzing the experience, or were you simply present within it? This is what the sage invites us to remember. There is a dimension of existence that cannot be captured by any word, explanation, or definition. It can only be lived. It can only be experienced. Your mind may already be working hard to understand these words. Notice that. Notice how quickly the mind wants to grasp, organize, and explain everything. This is natural. This is human. And it is also one of the things that can keep us from touching a deeper truth. When we name something, we often believe we understand it. When we label an experience, we feel that we have brought it under control. We say, this is anxiety, this is burnout, this is failure, this is simply what happens at my age. But once the label is applied, we may begin responding to the label rather than the living experience itself. Lao Tzu reminds us, what can be named is never the whole truth. What can be spoken is never the complete reality. Watch a flower opening in a garden. You may call it beautiful. You may name its species. You may describe its color and fragrance. But do any of those words contain the living mystery of a form turning toward the sun? Can the word flower capture the patience of its roots beneath the soil? The description may be accurate, but it is not the life itself. There is an old story about a master and his student walking beside a river. The student pointed toward the flowing water and asked, "Master, what is the true nature of this river?" The master smiled and gathered a little water in his hands. "This," he said. "But master," the student protested, "that is not the river. That is only water in your hands." The master opened his fingers and allowed the water to return to the current. "Exactly," he replied. "The river that can be held is not the true river." The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. Before your mind gave names to everything, what was there? Before you learned the words success, duty, parenthood, retirement, loss, and regret, what did life feel like? Before every experience was compared with what should have happened, there was simple awareness. This is what Lao Tzu calls the nameless. If it is safe to do so, close your eyes for a moment, or simply soften your gaze. Feel the movement of air within your body, but do not call it breathing. Feel the rhythm within your chest. but do not name it a heartbeat. Feel the simple fact of being alive, being aware, being here. What would you call this presence? Can it be contained in a profession, a family role, an age, a diagnosis, a success, or regret? This unnamed presence is part of the same unnamed mystery from which all things arise. Your deepest nature and the source of life are not separate. They are one mystery, appearing as countless forms. With a name, it becomes the mother of all things. Now, Lao Tzu shows us why language is still necessary. We need words to navigate daily life. We need language to communicate with family, colleagues, doctors, and friends. We need concepts to organize responsibilities, make decisions, and care for the people who depend on us. Names are not the enemy. They are tools. But when we mistake the tool for reality itself, we lose our way. Your name points toward you, but it is not the whole of you. The word marriage points toward a relationship, but it cannot contain decades of affection, disagreement, sacrifice, and forgiveness. The word parent points toward a role, but it cannot contain every fear, hope, and sleepless night. The word grief points toward an experience, but it cannot contain the exact shape of one person's absence. The word peace may guide us toward peace, but it is not peace itself. This is why the sage says that with a name, it becomes the mother of all things. Names create the human world in which we speak, plan, remember, and relate. But names are not the source. Therefore, when one is free from grasping, one sees the mystery. What does it mean to be free from desire? It does not mean wanting nothing. It does not mean abandoning responsibility, ambition, or love. It means releasing the constant need to possess the moment, control it, measure it, or force it to match the picture in your mind. Consider how often life is filtered through expectation. You sit down for dinner with your family, but your mind is already preparing for tomorrow. You take time away from work, but feel guilty for not being productive. You meet an old friend, but quietly compare careers, health, children, or retirement plans. You complete one responsibility, then immediately search for the next. The moment is present, but the mind is elsewhere, deciding whether the moment is enough. Imagine watching a sunset. You simply watch. You do not reach for a camera. You do not compare it with another sunset. You do not think about how you will describe it later. What happens? The beauty reveals itself without effort. For a moment, there is no separation between you and what you are seeing. There is only the experience. But when the mind is busy wanting, preparing, judging, and analyzing, we see only a limited form. We see our thoughts about the sunset rather than the sunset itself. This is not about forcing yourself to stop thinking. Thinking helps us solve problems, plan for the future, and care for those around us. The invitation is simply to recognize when thought has become a wall between us and direct experience, and then gently to return, like returning home after a long journey. Right now, as you listen to these words, what are you experiencing beyond the words? Can you notice the silence around the sound? Can you sense the awareness receiving these meanings? This awareness cannot be fully named, yet it is closer to you than any opinion you hold about yourself. Ancient commentaries tell us that the named and the nameless share the same origin. They appear different because we speak of them differently. Both are profound, and again, profound. This is the gateway to all mystery. What does this mean for daily life? How do you live with this understanding while paying bills, caring for aging parents, supporting children, managing work, and making difficult decisions? You do not need to choose between the world of names and the nameless source. You learn to move between them. You use words and concepts when they serve life, and you return to direct experience when concepts become too narrow. When someone asks how you feel, you may say, tired, concerned, disappointed, relieved. These words are useful. They create connection. But you can also remember that what you are is larger than any temporary state. You may feel tired, but you are not only tiredness. You may be worried about money, health, work, or family, but no single circumstance contains the whole of you. Your life is deeper than the label attached to this particular season. When you look at a tree, it may be useful to know whether it is an oak or a maple. That knowledge may help you care for it, but you can also stand quietly before it and witness a living form rising between earth and sky. Roots descending into darkness, branches opening toward light. Knowledge has its place. Wonder has its place. Wisdom allows room for both. There was once a famous calligrapher who spent many years refining his art. One day, a student asked him to paint the character for water. The master lifted his brush and painted the most beautiful character the student had ever seen. "Master," the student asked, "how did you learn to paint water so perfectly?" The old calligrapher walked toward a window overlooking a mountain stream. For a long time, he said nothing. He simply watched the water move. Finally, he turned back to the student. "I did not learn to paint water," he said softly. "I learned to become water." When there is no separation between the observer and what is observed, truth begins to reveal itself. This is the middle way Lao Tzu points toward. Do not reject the world of language and form, but do not become trapped within it. Use words carefully. Make plans. Fulfill responsibilities. Name what must be named, but remember the wordless source from which every word arises. Practice this today. Choose one ordinary moment. It may be while eating a meal, walking through your neighborhood, drinking tea before the rest of the household wakes, listening to music, or sitting quietly after a long day. For that one moment, place aside the words you usually use to describe the experience. Do not call the food good or disappointing. Do not call the walk exercise. Do not call the silence loneliness. Simply notice the direct experience. Texture, temperature, sound, movement, space. When thoughts appear with their labels and explanations, do not fight them. Notice them. Smile gently. Acknowledge that the mind is trying to help. Then return to the experience itself, to the simple wonder of being alive, being aware, being here. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, and yet we continue to speak. We use words to point beyond words. We use concepts to approach what cannot be contained by concepts. We use language to honor a mystery that no language can fully capture. This is the beautiful paradox of being human. We live in two worlds at once: the world of names, duties, plans, memories, and meanings, and the world of direct being that exists before and beyond every name. We do not need to abandon either one. We learn to honor both. There are times to analyze, and there are times simply to witness. There are times to define a problem, and there are times to sit quietly beside what cannot yet be understood. There are times to make a plan, and there are times to release the plan and enter the living moment. Wisdom is knowing when each is needed. So notice where names are useful in your life, and notice where they have become too small. Perhaps you have reduced yourself to a job title, a family role, an age, a mistake, a diagnosis, a success you must maintain, or a regret you have carried for too long. These names may describe something real, but they do not describe everything. Behind every role is a living presence. Behind every label is a human life that cannot be fully contained. Behind every thought about who you are is the quiet awareness in which that thought appears. Rest there for a moment. Before the explanation, before the judgment, before the name. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. And sometimes, the deepest truth is not something we understand. It is something we become still enough to experience.